Hi everyone. I first started making face masks several weeks ago when the coronavirus first became prevalent in our area. And I know there are a ton of tutorials out there about how to make face masks, but I thought I would share my design with you because after trying several different masks, I found that there were features I liked about each of them, but flaws in them as well. And so I decided to incorporate all of the things that I liked about each mask into one design. This design that I'm going to show you doesn't have a pocket for a removable filter, but could easily be altered to include that. I washed these masks, so I felt it wasn't necessary. And so this tutorial will show you how I make my version of the perfect adjustable mask. Okay, so to get started, you're going to need some paracord, pony beads, a pair of scissors, and also a lighter. You'll need as well 2 sheets of 100% cotton in whatever prints you'd like, and you'll need to cut those 2 sheets of cotton into 8-inch by 8-inch squares. You can see here I'm using a pretty print for the front of the mask and then also just a solid off-white for the back. You're also going to need some mid-weight interfacing, which will help serve as a little bit of a filter, although not removable, so keep that in mind, but it'll serve as a little bit of a filter and also help to stiffen up the mask when it is complete. You'll cut this to 7 inches by 8 inches, so just a little bit smaller than the cotton fabric squares you've already cut. And the reason why I cut it a bit narrower on the sides is because I found that it helped to reduce the number of layers my needle had to go through when sewing in the pleats of the mask. Now that I've got the interfacing cut down to the correct size, we're just going to layer this appropriately into our sheets so that we have everything lined up correctly when we get to the sewing machine. And you'll want to turn that printed side so that the back side of the print is facing up and the adhesive side or the glue side of the interfacing is facing down so that when you iron them they will get stuck together. And then underneath the bottom layer is going to be the back side of the mask. Next, we're going to prepare the straps that are going to go around the ears as part of our mask. And to do this, you'll take your paracord and cut it into 2 pieces that are 12 inches each. Once you have those 2 pieces, then you'll take the center part, which is the core, and pull it out from each piece. Then take your lighter and very gently heat the end of the paracord, which will melt and help it prevent from fraying as we're ready to use it. The last thing we have to do to prepare the ear strap is to create the adjustment. To do this, you're going to tie a knot in the center of each of the paracord pieces, then push one end of the paracord through a pony bead, allowing it to go as far as the knot. Then you'll repeat this for the other end of the paracord and pushing it through the same pony bead. You're going to repeat this for the second piece of paracord so that you have 2 adjustable ear straps prepared for your mask. Okay, now we're going to prepare the piece of wire that's going to serve as the frame for the top of the mask, allowing us to make a more contoured fit around the bridge of the nose. To do this, you're going to take a piece of 18 gauge wire and cut it to 3.5 inches. And then I just used a pair of jewelry pliers to twist the end, curve it around so that there isn't a pointed end. It's a little bit more curved and has less likelihood of actually poking through the fabric. You'll do that to both ends and then your wire piece is ready. Now that we have all of our pieces prepared, we're ready to get started sewing. Start by sewing a seam that's 1/4 inch from the edge of where you want the top of your mask to be, leaving 1/4 inch open on both ends. Next, we're going to create the pocket for where our wire nose piece is going to go. You're going to fold the fabric in half so that you know where the center is. Then lay the piece of wire on the fabric so that it's centered and mark on the fabric where the ends of the wire will be. Then you'll sew along those marks that you just created, remembering to back stitch a couple of times. And then switch the position of your needle so that it's as far right as possible, and you're going to sew a line parallel to the first seam that's just shy the length of the wire. This way you have a little bit of an opening. You can kind of see that on the left side there. And then you're going to slip the wire right into that pocket that we created. Once you've slipped the wire in, you can either go ahead and sew that using your sewing machine, although you'll probably have to switch to a zipper foot to make that work, or you can just hand stitch a couple of stitches in there to make sure that the wire doesn't come out. Next, we'll sew the ear straps into the mask. Start by placing one end of the paracord on an angle in the top corner between the front and back cotton layers of the mask material. Line up the layers and stitch along the side that will be the side of the mask, back stitching at each corner so that the paracord is firmly stitched in place. When you reach the bottom corner, you're going to pull the other end of the paracord into the corner and then stitch through it. Rotate the fabric 90 degrees so that you're now creating the bottom seam. I tried to demonstrate this on the sewing machine, but the video didn't come out too well. So I'll just kind of walk you through it here quickly. So here you can see that I am taking that paracord and angling it into the top corner between the front and back layers of the cotton fabric. I'm going to back stitch that into the corner so that it's firmly in place. Then I will stitch all along the side seam there until I get to the bottom corner, and then I'll pull that paracord through and stitch that in place as well. Once I get to that point, I'll rotate the fabric 90 degrees so that I'm now working on the bottom seam. And I'll continue to stitch along the bottom seam, leaving the middle third of it open, which we'll later use that to turn the fabric inside out. Once I've stitched the bottom seam, we'll rotate, place that paracord into the corner just like we did with the first corner, and then continue up that last side seam until we get to the top left corner of the mask. Now here you can see that I am just had turned it inside out. Now at this point you'll get your iron out and just press out those seams. It'll give it a nice sort of pressed finish look. And then we want to start working on creating the pleats. And to do this, I folded the fabric in half to establish where the sort of invisible center line was. And then used my fingers to pinch and fold the fabric down into the pleats where I wanted them. And I really didn't use any kind of scientific measurement to get this. I just sort of eyeballed it. But you certainly could get a little bit more technical with it and measure it out. So once the pleats are in place, you're ready to start sewing. And I did have to use a zipper foot along that top edge because of where the wire was. But I was able to switch back to my regular foot and then sew the rest of the seam. And then there you can see along the bottom it's nice and tight, so you can't necessarily see where the opening was. And there you have it. There's our final mask that's all ready and totally adjustable, ready to use.
Okay, now that you have your mask made, it's time to give it a test fit. And one of the things I like the most about this design is the adjustable strap here. When I first started making these masks and testing out different designs, I found that for the designs that called for elastic, even though I was following the directions, sometimes the elastic was a little too short and so it would pull on my ear and get uncomfortable, or it was a little too long and just didn't provide me with that snug fit that I was hoping for. So this really takes care of that, and I have grown to love it. So here we go. You're just going to position the mask as you normally would with most of the other designs. I'm going to wrap that paracord right around my ear and then pull the bottom part down, and you can see it's a little loose down here, But that's the great thing about this design, is that I can adjust just that lower, just the lower part of the strap, so that I get more of a snug fit. And then the last thing I'm gonna do is just press that wire around the bridge of my nose so that I have a nice fit up on top. So there you have it. So there's my design. I love it because I think it just does a great job of incorporating all of the things that I liked about some of the other masks. And it was really easy to make once I figured out all of the little tricks. So I hope you enjoy the video, and thanks for watching.